Hi, it's me, Saji Sharma, and welcome back to my commentary YouTube channel, where in order to get into a comfortable position where I can make whatever videos I want to, I had to essentially make fun of people I disagree with for your entertainment. But it's okay, because conservative bad, leftist good. And now I can focus on less of a liberal style of commentary and more of an anarcho-communist approach, because that's what making art is. Either making what you love and flopping around like a dying fish that's actually dancing but nobody can really tell because, well, that dance isn't trending, or you appeal to a system and betray your own desire to make art in the first place. Well, to that, I ask, is there a correct option? Well, to that, I ask, what is art? Well, to that, I say, art is the expression of yourself and your perspective at a given point. So if you find yourself limited by financial burdens or systemic reasons, and you make art confined by those boundaries, why isn't that art? It is art, but it's the easy route. I would know, I took it. Being so consumed by success because I followed a trend and narrowed my video style down the most efficient way I could made me creatively disfluent. It made me lose sight of why I began to make videos in the first place, which was to take whatever unorganized mess I have up here and organize it and put it out there. Not that following trends is bad, but that's what makes unbound art so good, because it defies those boundaries. It doesn't care about the potential financial status the art could make or the ratings reviews it could receive. It's made because the creator knows it's good, and they know it's good because it breaks boundaries. That's why I have such a strong respect for creators that just make what they want and be themselves and are successful because of it, not for succumbing to a system. You're going against the current because you have such a strong belief in what you're creating. And in the case of this video, what was created is the epitome of the boundaries that were set up to push against it. Community is a sitcom that's purpose is to make fun of other sitcoms. And I'm a YouTuber whose purpose right now is to mansplain a really good fucking show. It's beautifully ironic how a show named Community has such a strong community. But in order to explain how that came about, I have to take you back to the year where it all started. The year of 2009. It was a big year, man. You know, we were in the middle of a recession, the Bitcoin network was just created, and out of all that rubble, something unique rose from the ground. It was a little show named Community. A lot of now popular shows released during the same year seem to just be playing by the rules past sitcoms that already established. Sitcoms like Modern Family or Parks and Recreation are good shows, but they weren't bringing anything really new or fresh to the scene. Now I want you to imagine yourself as an adult, early 30s, late 20s, being an average TV enjoyer during this time. Maybe you like The Big Bang Theory, have a soft spot for Friends, How I Met Your Mother even. So it is safe to say that you are subconsciously biased to a specific TV format. And then you hear about this new show called Community. So after a long day of grinding Farmville, you curl up with your little white crusty dog on a futon that's been stained so many times it may as well be racially ambiguous, and you turn on the TV and change it to the NBC channel, and episode 1 of Community comes on.
Good morning. Many of you are halfway through your first week here at Greendale, and
what the fuck is this? Yeah, let's just say the show wasn't well received by a lot of people during this time. Even comparing it to Modern Family, which again came out during the same year, still really outperformed Community. Again, most likely because it's stuck to a safe format. Now, I'm not saying that the critics didn't like it, just that the audience members during this time didn't have as much of an appreciation for it because it was so different. And the creator and writer Dan Harmon probably knew this. As with anything, creating something that is different is a risk, but I guess it was a risk he was willing to take. Even if people got upset at him for being different and didn't like it, even though being different is cool, you just wouldn't get it. Getting so upset that they leak all of his personal information and dox him because why does he get to be different? No, you have to be a sheep that's brainwashed into thinking you're a lion, not a sheep that is a lion. Like a sheep that has a lion's head. That's weird and different and definitely not allowed. But you can protect yourself from those insecure heathens with today's sponsor, Aura. Anyone can find anything on the internet, including your full legal name, your personal email, your home address, phone number, and even your relatives. This hopefully hasn't happened to me and hopefully doesn't spark any ideas from anyone. But my friend's brother did prank call me one time saying he knew where I lived and listed all my friends' names that I live with. It wasn't a good prank. I didn't like that prank, Kyle. Please don't do that again. But anyway, thinking at that moment that someone had somehow found out out all of my personal information was very scary. This information is accessible because of data brokers who profit by selling your information to robocallers, telemarketers, spammers, and anyone else that wants to learn more about you. Enter today's sponsor, Aura. Aura will identify data brokers that are exposing your information and automatically submit opt-out requests on your behalf. They'll even opt you out of junk mail and telemarketing lists. Aura also monitors your emails and passwords to see if they were involved in a data breach and exposed on the dark web, and gives you recommendations on what to do. Let Aura do the hard work of keeping you safe online. If you sign up right now, Aura will give you a 2-week free trial with my link. Go to aura.com/Saji to start your free trial by clicking the link in the description or scanning this QR code right here. Did you do it yet? And thank you, Aura, for sponsoring this video. So what is it that makes Community different? Well, you can't talk about Community without talking about the satire. And the satire runs so deep that it's literally in the color grading. When rewatching the first few episodes, I noticed that a lot of the colors popped, but in a weirdly, specifically generic way. Like the colorists wanted it to feel and look like stock photos of college kids and pictures of kids schools put in their advertisements. It really does a good job of capturing that feeling of fake joy that feels like you're being lied to, which is perfect because you are being lied to. The poppy generic color grading and the weirdly upbeat and innocent music is there as a direct contrast to what really goes on in the show. No, it's not filled with a bunch of generic college people doing generic college things like sitting on a football field and gossiping. It's filled with a bunch of losers going to a loser school trying not to be assholes to each other. And instead of gossiping on a football field, they solve friendship gripes by building towns out of pillows and blankets, because why would you talk it out when you could declare war on Blanketsburg? But before I get into the insane bits that are cleverly used to flesh out characters and relationships, I want to talk about the characters. This is by far my favorite cast of any TV show. Why? Because they're not normal. This is a real group of misfits, okay? They bring out the worst in each other. I mean, the whole reason they're friends in the first place is because Jeff wanted to sleep with Britta, and then Jeff ends up being the glue that holds the group together. Except most of the time it's not because he wants to, but rather because he has some ulterior motive. But that's what makes this show so good. Every character has their big 1 or 2 flaws that sets them apart from the rest of the cast, and throughout the show they are reminded of these flaws so much that they pretty much become self-aware. And that can be entirely blamed on Jeff. The reason Jeff is in community college in the first place is because he was caught lying about going to Columbia in order to get into law school. So boom, we have a manipulative lawyer with a big ego that is self-aware, and is so self-aware that he makes the rest of the cast self-aware with his brutal and offensive honesty. In the first episode, Jeff bribes a professor, an old client of his, for all the answers on every test. Jeff gets the answers only after propelling a group of people he had just met into chaos because he wanted to sleep with one of them. He then gives a brilliant speech, one of many to come, in order to bring peace back to the group of unlikely misfits. But he only does this because he thinks it will further his endeavor to sleep with Britta. Anyway, he's caught in the act and tells them to suck it because he has the test answers and was a lawyer.
I was a lawyer.
He then gets karma because all the test answers were blank. But before the end of the episode, the group forgives him out of pure guilt.
You know what, Jeff? Actually, we didn't get that far without you. So if you want to come back upstairs, like...
They can tell he's at rock bottom, just like the rest of them. They mold together so well because they're at a rock bottom school with rock bottom people. And Jeff has a hard time accepting that, but it is the group that shows Jeff humanity for the first time. They show him community. He did the thing! They pretty much tell him, hey man, we're all in this really sucky place. You don't need to suffer alone. And in return, Jeff's sense of superiority is lowered, and he uses his long manipulative speeches to solve issues when there is a debacle rather than for his own gain all the time. Again, he still does things for his own gain, but the friendships within the group show him that helping people you love can be more rewarding than helping yourself. Now, Jeff isn't the only deeply flawed character. In fact, they all have some flaws. Annie's an overachiever, willing to hurt others in the process. Britta is a performative white liberal that comes off as pretentious more so than righteous. Troy is a dumb jock. Abed is on the spectrum and doesn't feel emotion like everyone else, so can sometimes cross boundaries without realizing. Shirley is overtly Christian and can sometimes be bigoted. And Pierce is Pierce.
And finally, this beautiful creature is named Shirley.
Is that even close?
It's so funny because it's well known that Chevy Chase wasn't the best on set, But that's kind of what made his character so good. Chevy Chase was Pierce. I was watching some blooper clips, and there's just times where he'll make jokes when they're filming on set, and the jokes are just off-putting and not funny, and really just shows the chemistry between him and the cast. He really didn't have any.
Yeah, you still owe me for the keg deposit.
You want to say that line again, you asshole?
Okay.
Wow.
So we'll go from the off-screen.
Fuck you for doing the right thing.
Anyway, they're all a stereotype portrayed to fit the satire and the unseriousness of the show. Every character has a serious and realistic issue, but the way it's played out is often unserious via means of parody or just insane things occurring. But it handles both things so well since the show is so self-aware. To be able to have an insane concept like a claymation episode that is in place to translate a mental breakdown that Abed is having is genius. Or with smaller bits, like when they introduce Subway. Not the restaurant, but the human named Subway, who is a walking human advertisement whose purpose is to own 51% of the new Subway store in the cafeteria so that no other student can. Think of him like Jake from State Farm, because there really is no difference. Have you seen the video of Jake at an NBA game?
That's not Drake, that's Jake.
Yes, sir.
Hey,
Like a good neighbor.
hey.
Say it.
State Farm is there.
You already know.
Like a good neighbor? Say it. Say it. Say it. Please say it 3 times fast. It's the only thing that'll break the curse. Please just say it. And what's funny is that Subway will play as like a foil for Britta's character, since he is the personification of commercialization. And Britta hates capitalism and exploitation, so naturally she falls in love with him. A modern day Romeo and Juliet, truly. But whether the crazy things that happen are the B-plot or take over 2 episodes, they always come back to the characters. One of the biggest emotional beats for me was at the end of the Pillow and Blankets episode. Now, normally Jeff only ever breaks his straight man persona and delves into the bit when his ego is challenged and he can actually gain something from it. But like I mentioned previously, he starts to warm up to his friends. And throughout this episode, Troy and Abed are fighting via pillow and blanket fort war. And at the end of the episode, in order to help resolve a conflict, Jeff tries to play along with their bit. At first, Troy and Abed don't believe him because, well, that just isn't who he is. And he says,
You use those magical friendship hats that I got for you.
I'm not stupid, Jeffrey. We know you made those sarcastically.
Yes, yes. And I will roll my eyes at both of you when I put them on your heads. Because that's the way I am. But that's not the way you have to be.
telling them that just because he's shallow and hardly ever interested in acting like a kid, it doesn't mean that they can't be themselves. And then Troy goes,
Jeff.
What?
You left the magical friendship hats at the dean's office?
Right. Of course.
and Jeff has to go get the hats. Except he does actually go get the hats. He goes all the way back to the dean's office and pretends to pick them up. Pick up the little imaginary magical friendship hats and brings them all the way back just for Troy and Abed. I'm not crying. Why would you say that? But that's what really carries the show. The heart. It's a driven show. Dan Harmon and the rest of the creators knew it was good. Not even the fucking cast thought anyone was gonna watch such a bizarre show.
Hi, how are you? I'm Chevy Chase. A lot of people don't watch our show because it's on at 8. Not me. I watch it.
That's not
Okay.
true.
I think for many of us, we never expected it to last as long as it did. I just thought we were doing such unusual work that I was like, who's going to watch this? And there's no way someone will support this. This is going to be some weird, strange show that someone's going to discover on the web and wonder who made this and how did this exist? And
even though they were still struggling in terms of audiences compared to other sitcoms during this time, things only started to get worse. This was the beginning of the darkest timeline. So, creator and writer of the show, Dan Harmon, who you may also know as less bad but still problematic creator of the popular TV show Pervert Kid and Pickled Cucumber, was fired for a plethora of reasons, a lot of it being due to his behavior and bad habits, after season 3 of Community was released. NBC decided to replace him with showrunners David Guaraccio, sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, and Moses Port, who made one of the worst TV shows of all time. It's called Aliens in America, and it's not about aliens, but it's about aliens, if you catch my drift. It's about a white family that wanted to adopt a kid, and the kid ended up being Pakistani when I guess the family was expecting a white kid. It's a super really racist show, and it was canceled after 1 season, thank God. I honestly would have been scared if the show kept running considering the time that it was released. But yeah, I guess you could say NBC flushed Community down the toilet, which is weird and doesn't make any sense until you think about it. Community was a sleeper hit around this time. It had a small cult following that really shined when NBC wanted to cancel the show after the 3rd season began to premiere. Fans of the series created a flash mob outside of NBC's Rockefeller Center headquarters in New York City to occupy NBC because they were so upset at that possibility. So you have NBC not really giving a shit about Community and wanting to cancel it, and then Dan Harmon is fired, but you already made a promise to the fans that there would be a 4th season. So what do? You find the cheapest and worst goddamn option available. And these new showrunners ruined the show because they tried to capture the wackiness and insanity without recapturing any of the heart. So it feels like a sad and hollow redrawing of a masterpiece. Anyway, NBC knew it had fucked up, so after the gas leak year, they rehired Dan, but it was too late. The damage had already been done. It was irreversible. Not only that, but they had lost half of their cast, with Chevy leaving after saying the N-word, and Donald Glover leaving to pursue other projects, as well as Yvette and Nicole Brown leaving after the 5th season. It was safe to say that the show was in shambles, but they still pushed, not trying to recreate previous seasons, but by using what they had. And the last 2 seasons still ended up being better than the 4th season. So I forgot to mention that after season 5, NBC did actually cancel the show. So they were kind of screwed for a little bit, but then they ended up getting picked up by Yahoo Screen, which doesn't even fucking exist anymore. So that also goes to show the efforts that they had to put in to actually finish the show in the first place. With all that being said, I want to circle back and talk about why Community is still so big and so beloved today. Sure, this may have been the darkest timeline for Community when it comes to blockades being placed in its way, but because of the community that Community had built, it was able to surpass those boundaries. Sure, by barely hanging on to a thread, but that thread ended up gaining the ability to download streaming services like Netflix and Hulu. And all of this is due to the heart and drive that was put into the show despite the difficulties that were placed in its way. Dan Harmon had a mission and he went through with it. And the then smaller audience noticed that and gate-kept the hell out of the show. Again, bound art is still good. I mean, if you look at season 4, it isn't a bad show. They were just playing by the rules the network told them to follow. But that's where Unbound Art shines, because it looks at the rules and says, fuck it. The story of Community and its success is like the exact opposite of any rags to riches capitalist propaganda story. It was mistreated and abused, but it still stood its ground. It didn't take the easy way that they knew would make money. They stuck to the dirt road and trudged, not even knowing if they would see light at the end of the tunnel. Well, I'm here to tell you that you will never know if there will be light or a tunnel. Shit, you might be swimming. But there is light in what you are creating so long as you believe in that. And I, for one, believe in you. Cut! Steven, we need more of an emphasis on the believe in you. Saji has an enduring persona. We want people to subscribe, not just like the video. Can you add just a little bit of that enduring smirk? Okay. Maybe? Got it. We need to push it. I seriously have to make my Otter's dance recital. Okay. Last take. Places, everyone. And action. And I, for one, believe in you. Cut. And that's a wrap. Patreon time. Thank you, Tier 1 patrons, Teddy, Mark, Annalyn, Emma, and Alexandra. Thank you, Tier 2 patrons, Vanessa Carone, Sophia Vanilla, Sav C, Samira Truesdale, May, Matthew MacLeod, Ken, Casey, John Grob, Elka, Birdie S, Big Guy Mal, Tip Fox, Raghava Kovali, Izzy, and Despak. I'm so sorry. I don't want to kill that name. And thank you, Tier 3 patrons, Lysander, Lucy Goosey, Jack, Edgar Rangel, Ankush Saghal, and Adeline Grubb. Thank you guys so much for becoming patrons. Really appreciate it. Working on 2 podcasts for this upcoming week for the one that I missed. So that'll be up shortly after this video. And I hope you guys enjoyed and have a great rest of your day. Bye.